Hey everybody, good evening from London, UK. This is Shakti Sundari speaking, and this live tonight is about rapture. So I want to speak to all the women out there, all the all the women, all the wonderful women out there about my upcoming 6-week immersive journey called Rapture, in which I'm going to be guiding you through a deep process of transformation through the deeper embodiment of and connection with your sexual, spiritual energy and your true nature as the divine feminine. So welcome to this live, and I'm just going to freestyle as I share. So about 13 years ago, I went to my very first Tantra workshop, and I went to this workshop for a few reasons. So one is that I had recently separated from my second husband, and the root cause, well, one of the root causes of why we had separated was sexual issues that had come about through a physical trauma, a vaginal trauma through birthing my first child, had made sex very painful for me, and that created difficulties in our sex life that we weren't able at that time to overcome, and we grew apart. And so for 4.5 years in that marriage, I didn't have any sex at all with my husband. I did self-pleasure, but we had no sex for 4.5 years, and then we separated and divorced. And after that experience, our marriage ended. So it was a huge breakup in my life. I came back to the UK. I'd been living in the States. No money, no job, 2 young children, and the end of my second marriage. And from that point forward, I was resolved to figure out, what had caused this breakdown, and also to heal myself physically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and to really explore my sexuality again, because it had been such a big part of my life and my identity until that event. I'd always loved my sexuality, had a great sex life, wonderful. And then this had changed everything. And, actually just to refer back to that, in that time of not being able to have enjoyable sex for 4.5 years, which is a really long time, it completely affected me, in the sense that for me, my sexuality was such a big part of my identity, such a big part of my pleasure in life, such a big part of being who I am, and actually there's research that supports this finding, which I didn't know about at the time. But if you read, for example, Naomi Wolf's book, Vagina, she speaks to how women who've had female genital mutilation, for example, or who've had other experiences of the loss of their sexuality, it affects women mentally, emotionally, psychologically. It has a depressive effect on our well-being when we're not fully enjoying our sexuality, which is innate to us as women. So anyway, so there I was at my very first Tantra workshop. By that point, I had actually reignited my sex life with a beautiful spiritual seeker, and discovered that everything was working fine, but still there was this calling in me to explore more. And so I went to my first Tantra workshop. And again, for those of you who've never done this kind of thing, there's a great misconception out there that Tantra is all about having orgies and it's all about having sex with people. It is not. Tantra is a very ancient philosophy, which is a way of life. Also, there are many practices that can be part of this way of life. It's not affiliated with any religion or doctrine or dogma, but it is a pathway for those who wish to self-realize through the inclusion of all of life. And it's a pathway that very much honors the divine feminine as the energy of life. And sexuality is just one small part of that. In a sense, the divine feminine and the energy of life and sexual energy are inseparable, in fact. I didn't know any of this when I went to my first Tantra workshop, but I had some incredible experiences. And quite near the beginning of the workshop, one of the experiences was what was called Kundalini shaking, and this led to an experience of what was called streaming, which is where sexual energy is flowing through the physical body. So literally moving through, energy is rippling through the physical body. And as this energy, sexual energy, Kundalini energy, life force energy, Shakti energy, as it flows through the body, it opens energy centers, it purges emotions, it purges energy. So this energy is also a spiritual energy for conscious awakening, which is something that's not really properly understood, I think. So I was having this experience of this sexual energy flowing through my body completely freely, and I was crying, I was laughing, I was sweating. It went on for ages and ages, probably an hour, I think. And that was just the first time. There were many other times. And all of these emotions were coming out, you know, tears streaming down. I had no idea what that was about. I didn't need to know what that's about. My mind was gone. I wasn't trying to rationalize. I was just completely surrendered to the process. But that was my first experience of that. And from there, basically, that was about 13 years ago, my whole life pivoted, my whole life changed. And that first experience of the ignition, the conscious ignition of my feminine sacred essence, my divine feminine Shakti flowing through me, from that first experience, my life unfolded in a completely unexpected and new direction as I went on to experience more Tantra workshops, become a Kundalini yoga and meditation teacher, practice body work, energy healing, and basically go on to initiate as a priestess of love and sacred sexuality, a facilitator of sexual awakening for women. And that's as I went on this journey and continued with this kind of opening of my physical body, my energy body, deep meditation practices for many years, more and more practices to activate, awaken, circulate, and harness this energy, which is the divine feminine, Shakti, which is now my name, Shakti Sundari, right? So I began to see more and more how my former self was so small, how my former self was so disempowered, how my former self was having great sex, but really nothing like what I then began to discover is possible. And I began to see how so many women are living in that very small way, disempowered, disconnected from their bodies, from their divinity, from their sexuality, from their true power, from their true nature, from their true essence, and how this energy of Shakti is the key to unlocking all of those things. I began to see how the way that we are conditioned from birth, even from the way that children are birthed in hospitals in this medicalized context, how pregnant women are treated, even that is a part of a patriarchal system, a programming that is designed to disempower, that is designed to disconnect, that is designed to blind us to who we truly are. And the further I've gone along this path, the clearer it is to me that this programming, this conditioning, shuts us off, shuts us down, numbs us out, disconnects us from ourselves and one another, creates dysfunctional relationships, creates distorted sexuality, and basically stops men and women from standing in their true authentic power, from being who they really are, from recognizing their God essence, their God nature. And of course, from experiencing the pleasure in life as much as the pleasure in their sexuality as is possible. You know, like this much when this much is available. And so I've been teaching this body of work over these years of embodied awareness, of sexual and spiritual awakening. And watching as I do this, how when this energy ignites in women's lives and when women's bodies, they remember, they begin to remember who they truly are. Healing happens, life changes happen. They begin to walk their true soul's destiny, their true soul's path. And their experience of who they are expands, their gifts blossom, their intuition opens, their deep inner wisdom comes online, because this is what our sexuality gives us access to. And this is what the patriarchal, religious, social, cultural programming attempts to shut off, right? So, this, which is your true nature, which is your inner radiance, is always there, is always accessible, but we haven't been taught the way. And what I see now as almost an elder, you know, now I'm in my menopause, now I'm 56, now I'm teaching this, now I've got teenagers who are almost ready to leave home. And I look at my daughter and I see she's not being taught this by anyone apart from me. No one of her age is being taught this. I wasn't taught this. My mother wasn't taught this. So there's this huge need that I see for this awakening to happen, for this recognition to happen. And in the same way that, you know, people are beginning to wake up more and more right now to the lies that are being told by our governments, by our media about the present situation. Well, the programming and the conditioning around what the feminine truly is a part of that, right? And the lies that are told about what sexuality really is are a part of that. So everything that has taught you as woman to place your value on how you look on the external and try to conform to an external definition of beauty is part of that lie. Thinking that your desire and your sexuality are in any way shameful is a part of that lie. Thinking that your body is ugly and disgusting or imperfect is a part of that lie. Thinking that your beautiful pubic hair, armpit hair, leg hair, your beautiful genitals, your yoni, your breasts are in any way ugly or wrong or imperfect, however they are, is a part of that lie. And do you see how that lie has kept you from your pleasure, from your power, from your purpose, from your wisdom, from your truth, from your awakening to your serving life and living life fully? It's kind of like a conspiracy against your true nature. Your true nature is ecstatic. Your true nature is to embody and live in the deepest sensuality, in deepest communion with life and love, in deepest communion with nature. This is your true nature. And the programming, the conspiracy is there to deny this, to repress this, to shut off your knowing of this, to blind you to this. Well, I'm here to remind you of that. For my mother, for my daughter, for myself, and what gives me the greatest amount of pleasure and fulfillment is to witness a woman blossoming and opening into her true nature, to witness a woman reclaiming her pleasure, to witness a woman reclaiming her desire without apology, without manipulation, without the shadows of this patriarchal system, to love her body. Like, how radical an act would it be if every single woman looked in the mirror and unapologetically loved her body from head to toe fully? This is what is available to you at any moment if you choose it. And the pleasure, the divinity, the opening, the awakening is there and available to you however you look, however your age, however your size, wherever you come from. It's got nothing to do with that. All of those beliefs are part of the programming to deny you your inherent divine sacred feminine essence, right? So I want to just then conclude this video by talking a little bit about my Rapture 6-week online course, which is starting on Sunday. So 6 weeks where you have me. I've been doing this work now in total. So in total as a teacher, a facilitator for 18 years, as a teacher of this body of work for 10 years, but in total 18 years experience of teaching embodied awareness and sexual and spiritual awakening. Now channeling, now transforming, now transmitting the energy of Shakti so you feel it, and it does its work simply by being in my presence. 6 weeks you have me to coach, to guide, to facilitate, to mentor through the Rapture program, which is based upon the book that I'm writing of the same name. And I'm just going to refer to my book titles so you can kind of get a sense of what the 6 weeks are about. So for 6 weeks, we're going to be meeting 3 times a week together through a live. You can be there live or you can watch the playback, and you can watch these playbacks repeatedly. So it's a very immersive, intensive, deep journey. I like to work deep. I don't do superficial. We go deep. So week 1, reframing the patriarchal narrative. Right? Week 2, knowing who you are. Week 3, expanded feminine sexuality. Week 4, honoring your needs. Week 5, polarity and potential. And week 6, becoming whole. So I'm going to take you through this whole journey, which is basically designed to support you in reframing, in letting go. So basically, if you imagine everything that you've been taught about your sexuality and your spirituality, about your body, about your relating, it's a lie. And I'm here to help you flip those lies on their head, to recognize who you really are, to connect with who you really are through your sacred feminine sexual divine essence, to ignite this within you, to ignite your Shakti, to activate you so you go out into the world empowered, you go out into the world radiant, you go out in the world aligned, you go out in the world knowing the pleasure that you're capable of and taking that into your life in every sphere, not just the sexual sphere, because sexual energy isn't just about sex, it's about spiritual awakening. But you're here for pleasure, you're here for bliss. This is your divine nature. I'm here to activate that for those of you who are called. What else do I want to say? I don't know when I'm going to do this again. I'm doing this as a special 6-week intensive. The only other way you can work with me at the moment is one-to-one or through my 9-month Awakening Shakti program, which is even deeper, broader, wider and more. But to have this condensed offering is the first and perhaps the only opportunity. I don't know. But 6 weeks you have me dedicated, devoted there for you. Tracking, guiding, activating, transmitting, teaching, learning experientially. So, if this calls you, please drop me a line below and I will, I need your email address and I will email you the details because I've got a little document I can send you. There's also a web page on my website. If you go to www.shaktisundari.com, that's Sundari. There's a page under services called Rapture, so you can see the details there as well. We're starting on Sunday with a Zoom call for all to gather together and to really step into the space, because when you work with me, as soon as I open the space, the energy begins. You come into this container and the energy begins to do its work. 6 weeks. We complete the process. It's going to be super powerful. It's going to be transformative. It's going to be life-changing. So only come if you're ready for that. If you're ready to do the work, if you're ready to take responsibility, if you're ready to go deep and you're hungry for this right now. The world needs you. The world needs us to wake up, to stand in our truth, to be alive, fully feeling, fully loving, fully ecstatic. The world needs us. So come and join me, beautiful, beautiful women. I'm here for you, and we're starting this Sunday, May the 2nd. Namaste.